Hey Court. Do you like it when everybody's kung fu fighting?
Only if the fists are fast as lightning.
Was it a little bit frightening?
All right, let's stop.
They did fight with expert timing, though. Did they not?
They did.
So much expert timing. Welcome, everybody, to episode 7 of the Project Infinite podcast, a podcast that covers the infinite multiverse of fandom, from movies, TV, comics, video games, everything in between. My name is Rob. As always, Courtney, welcome.
What's going on?
Not much, man. I think you can kind of guess what we're going to be talking about today.
Yep, Fast 5. Thought we were going to go a week without a Fast and Furious reference. You thought wrong.
Are there ninjas in Fast and Furious?
There's got to be.
They had to have done ninjas at some point, right? They got the space.
Right? There's ninjas.
If there's not, missed opportunity.
Yeah.
But before we get to our review of Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings, I just wanted to hit you with some news up top. So what do you got for us, Court?
I mean, I've talked about it. I want to say probably 5 out of the 7 episodes we've done, but the Dune premiere was this week. So we got our first... Yeah, we got our first reactions to Dune, and they are, let's just get this out of the way, they've been positive, but not overwhelmingly positive for some people, which is interesting. I don't even want to say it's interesting. It's just, it's one of the biggest spectacles that we're going to see on film anytime soon, past, present, future. I mean, Denis Villeneuve steps on a project, you want to talk about scale. So yeah, a lot of people have said this is a good movie. A lot of people said there's some stuff to be desired. I know the stuff that are kind of across the board good has been Hans Zimmer's score. Some people are saying this is his best work of his career, which is really saying something.
That says a lot.
Yeah, it does. It says a lot. I think Denis Villeneuve said he was brought to tears the first time he listened to the score. So if that tells you something, I mean, I'm excited for that, to listen to that. I mean, all the leads in the movie I've heard are exceptional. It's just some story beats, I guess, or where some of the critics are having a little bit of, step back and look at the movie and kind of not love it as much. But still, I've seen a lot of amazing reviews calling this one of the greatest science fiction movies and one of the greatest movies that's ever been put to screen. So still does not diminish my hype for this movie, and I'm still super excited to see it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm being a little hypocritical here because I always say, and I've said it a bunch of times on here, I'm on the record saying, like, I don't put a lot of stock in these pre-review screenings, right. But that's only because they're always usually overwhelmingly positive.
Yes.
I get worried when some of them aren't positive.
Right.
Because it's almost like purposely promoting bad press.
True.
Which I don't think anybody wants to do.
No. And I'm not too concerned because you want to look back at Interstellar. I mean, Interstellar is sitting at a 71% on Rotten Tomatoes, and from just people that aren't just crazy into film, people that just kind of picked up a movie and just started watching it, Interstellar being that, a lot of people love that movie and think that's one of the greatest science fictions. It's films of all time. It's one of the biggest movies ever made in terms of just the scale and what they were able to pull off. And I mean, the story and the emotional beats worked as well. So, I mean, that's why I don't put too much stock into Rotten Tomatoes. I know on the Shang-Chi review, we're going to get into their Rotten Tomatoes score a little bit, but yeah, it's not going to change anything for me. I definitely like to hear people's different perspectives because it just gives it a little bit more depth where everybody's not thinking the same about a film.
Yeah, I think this movie's a unique case only because this movie already kind of has an uphill battle.
It does.
Because it's coming day and date on HBO Max.
And it's a new fandom that not a lot of people are into. Right. Because this book came out years and years ago, and if you weren't really into this fandom before, then it might be a little tough because if you want to read the book before, it's not the biggest book in the world, but it's a sizable book. It's a good read, but it's still a little bit intimidating to get into a new fandom. But however, we're dealing with one of the most decorated filmmakers of our generation. We're dealing with one of the greatest casts ever assembled for a film. We're dealing with one of the greatest composers of all time on this film. We're dealing with one of the greatest cinematographers of our generation, coming off of Rogue One. There's a lot of good stuff behind the scenes for this movie. So, like I said, this isn't going to change anything for me just yet. I want to see it with my own eyes. So I'm still excited for it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I'm still excited for it. But just, I'm not nervous for how good it's going to be. I'm nervous for the future of the franchise.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of things which says this is very much a part 1 of 2. This is almost in the way that Infinity War and Endgame worked, which if that's the case, then we do need this part 2. So, like I said it before, please, everybody go see this movie in the theaters. Take your friends, take your grandma, if it's safe, and go have a good time at the movie theater. See a new fandom.
Yeah. You want to talk about a little Aquaman?
Aquaman. Yeah. So,
Aquaman 2 back in the habit?
Yeah. 2 Aqua, 2 Man. Second Fast and Furious reference of the episode. So we got our first look at Aquaman 2. So we've seen new suit, kind of a darker suit. Looks pretty cool.
Stealth suit.
Captain America stand up.
Sequel stealth suit. That's the new the word. I want to coin that phrase. I hope nobody else is taking it. We're going to claim it now. If you're in a sequel, you get a stealth suit.
Yes, sir.
Captain America got one. Spider-Man got one.
Yep.
Now Aquaman's getting one.
Yep. And it looks pretty good. I mean, I want to say this. DC's costume department does a really good job. I don't think there's a costume that I haven't liked yet. I mean, even on the original Suicide Squad movie, all their costumes looked pretty solid. Shazam's costume looks good.
I'm still not in love with the Flash suit.
Okay, I'll take that one. That's the only one that I'm not super in love with, but yeah, nothing too crazy, just a new suit. He's in the desert, taking him out of his element. Another
Aquaman's natural state.
Yeah, another sequel trope, taking them out of their natural element. And
he was in the desert a lot in the first one.
But there was water.
I guess.
Yeah. It was off his head, but there was water. And it unlocked an ancient city, so. And we also saw Patrick Wilson as Orem.
Ocean Jesus.
Yeah, he does look kind of like Ocean Jesus this time. But can I just say, I love Patrick Wilson as Ocean Master. When you talk about like villains hamming up the scenery and chewing it up, he is the perfect example of, you know what? I'm not going to take this like too seriously. I'm going to have a little bit of fun. And honestly, it kind of helped that final fight, which was one of actually the better third act hero versus villain fights that I can think of in a comic book movie too. So
I agree.
Yeah, I really like Patrick Wilson. I think he honestly might have like a nice arc where he kind of turns good. It's kind of seemed like, or he can call up Ocean, or he can call up Black Manta and he said, let's run it back.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna get a bit into this later, but I'm a big fan of when the hero and the villain just kind of square up.
Yeah.
And fight each other instead of like a big CGI crazy magical mystical showdown.
Yeah.
So that's why I like that Aquaman Ocean Master fight from the first Aquaman movie, because it's just two guys going at it on top of a submarine.
Yeah, and it was great. There was no interruptions, and you really got to see kind of the crazy kind of aspects of that ocean world just kind of not dulled down, but kind of just calmed down for a second, just like you said, so two adversaries can face each other.
You want to talk a little what if?
Let's talk Matrix first, and then we'll get into what if. So,
the Matrix.
Yeah, the Matrix. We're back, baby. Keanu Reeves is back. Hollywood's golden boy.
Got his John Wick hair.
Yeah, he does. I think he's under contract for the rest of his life to never cut his hair. That's fine. That's cool.
Yeah. So we are getting a trailer shortly for the Matrix Resurrections.
Yes, by the time you guys hear this episode, the next day we're going to get the full trailer for The Matrix, and I'm pretty excited. I'm not going to lie. I know it's the big trope from Hollywood. We're getting a bunch of sequels, spin-offs, this, that, but I mean,
resurrection.
I see what you did there.
It's a little on the nose.
It is a little on the nose, but I mean, just from the teaser trailer that they dropped today, the action set pieces look really good, so it's kind of fun to see one of those franchises from the late 90s and the ones that kind of revolutionize the action genre kind of get updated with stunt choreography these days, better CGI these days, which honestly, The Matrix didn't have bad CGI for the time they were at. They probably had one of the better ones and the more memorable ones, that and kind of, I want to say Spider-Man, so no, still something I'm looking forward to. We're going to probably dive deeper into that movie and maybe the franchise as we get a little bit closer, so. Yeah,
I think I'm of two minds with this movie. On one hand, I'm real excited for the look and the action and the stunts, but I hope that doesn't come at expense of the story.
Yeah.
Which is where I get a little nervous. Like, I hope this just doesn't end up being Stunts the movie.
Stunts the movie, yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is kind of what the second and third one kind of devolved into, because the story became sort of nonsense.
Yeah.
Like, the first one was really interesting, really cool, really unique.
It was revolutionary at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the second and third ones kind of just felt like cash grabs on the first one.
Yeah,
there's some solid parts of those movies.
Yeah,
but...
especially the third one because it came so shortly after the second one. Because again, it was like that Infinity War Endgame type of feel to it. Just it was a sequel. It was like a direct in-universe sequel, like right after the fact. But yeah, still we're still gonna see this.
Yeah,
really glad that Keanu Reeves is back and
me too.
Doing some great action. So
Carrie-Anne Moss is back.
Yeah,
so I'm curious how they're gonna reintroduce Trinity to the story.
Right.
Yeah, I'm pumped.
Yeah.
Whatever. They suckered me in. I don't care.
Yeah. But I wanted to leave it a little Marvel before we get into the Shang-Chi review. So, what if? Guys, what if? What if zombies?
What if zombies?
Question mark. That's
zombies?
It. Yeah, zombies question mark. But guys, if you guys have been sleeping on What If, that show has had just an uphill trajectory from episode 1 because it was Captain Carter, cool. Haley Atwell's back. Now we know what the show's about.
It was a fun jaunt.
It was it was solid. It felt like Captain America: The First Avenger.
Everyone was having fun.
Yeah,
good times.
It was good. It was good. She fought a tentacle monster. It was good. It was good fun. Second episode, real emotional episode. Chadwick Boseman's one of his final times we'll ever hear him. Still very sad, but he did a really good job. And the episode itself was just really beautifully done. Just the message that it gave, where he even turned Thanos into a good guy. Just what one man can kind of do
also
for the universe.
Fun
also
episode.
Fun. We get to episode 3.
Not so fun.
Not so fun. And you kind of see the potential of this show and where they can kind of lead to. And honestly, a direction I wasn't expecting, the darker elements of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
What if all the people you knew died?
Yeah.
Imagine?
What if you were to recruit a basketball team and they all died?
Yeah.
That's what if episode 3.
Whew. What if Hank Pym was a lunatic?
Spoilers, sorry. Spoilers. Hank Pym is a lunatic. Yes, that's correct.
And then this last one.
Yeah, this is the one that I wanted to talk about a little bit.
Dude.
Maybe, spoiler warning. Guys got about 5 seconds, and we're just going to get into it. Rob's going to time code everything per usual. But what if episode 4? So basically it is, what if Doctor Strange was evil? That, in layman's terms, that's what it is. And, man, Marvel itself delivered one of the probably darkest stories that they ever have told. And also, it was really somber. You can kind of feel like that these shows kind of in like the vein of like WandaVision at the end, kind of like those last couple episodes with some of the moments with Vision and Wanda. You kind of see the potential that they have where it's not really like this linear path of like mood every time we see a movie. They can fluctuate really well. I mean, we saw some really sad moments in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I mean, one of the greatest moments from that show, in my opinion, was the fight that John Walker had with Bucky and Sam. And it ends on one of those notes where you don't feel great. I know he gets the shield back, but it's just so dark in the moment. So, yeah, this episode... So, instead of Stephen Strange's hands being broken, Christine is back. So Rachel McAdams is back voicing Christine, and they are just going out to dinner. So in this universe, they're dating, and he picks her up, and they crash the car, per usual, and she dies. He lives this time, like usual. And he goes back. He goes to Carmitage. His magic's actually pretty strong, honestly, because his hands work, so it's not all those things that he had to overcome before. And he uses a time stone, and he goes back, and he does it again. And Christine dies again. And then you kind of get this feeling when you're watching the episode of she is not making it the whole way. And
time loop.
Yeah, time loop
alert.
Yeah, time loop alert times 1,000,000. And he keeps going back. There's even to the point where she's in front of the restaurant and he picks her up and she says, he tells her, why don't we just, let's just go get some pizza. And a robber walks in and he shoots her. He just doesn't pick her up. He ghosts her the one day, and her building explodes. So, man, I don't know what Christine did to the universe, but the universe wants her dead. Yeah, and it gets so... You know what the most somber moment of that episode was, besides the ending? It's when he put on his blinker to turn in the lane, and it didn't work, and there was no music behind it, and I was like, yeah, this episode's gonna be sad the whole time. Yep. So, Doctor Strange goes to... where does he go? He goes to the Book of Cagliostro. He goes to
the library.
Yeah, he goes to the Library of Cagliostro, and he goes full out selling my soul to get ultimate power. And that's like that kind of comic thing that you think in your head, I'll never see on screen. And they did it, and they did it well.
Great performance by Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah. One of my favorite voice actors that's not really doesn't do too much voice acting. And yeah, you buy it the whole way that he's so lost because he just wants that one person with him, and he can't get her. He can't make her live. So Marvel has dubbed this the absolute point. So the Ancient One, she comes back in a spirit form almost, and he tells her, or she tells him that this is an absolute point. She's always going to die. And this darker version of Strange tells her, I'm going to do whatever. I will break this absolute point. And he does.
He would have.
And you find out later that she actually splits him into two. So 2 people living in the same timeline. And I kind of want to talk about that for a second, because this whole what if, the big thing that I want to take from this is the implications on the live action MCU, especially this darker version of Doctor Strange, because at the end of the episode, he brings Christine back, but the universe collapses on itself. It can't survive. He
becomes like a monster.
He does. He's probably he's the strongest character in the whole Marvel universe at that point. He even got the tentacle monster from episode 1 of What If. He absorbed that. He absorbed the garden gnome. It went crazy. It went insane. But yeah, at the end, it's just so sad. That music that was playing is just really sad, really somber. And those larger world implications of, man, universes can die, Secret Wars possibly, and that version of Doctor Strange isn't dead. So I know a lot of people have been saying, is that the version of Doctor Strange in Spider-Man No Way Home?
I don't think so.
Me neither. I do not think so at all. Is it Mephisto?
No.
Let's not do that, because
we're not doing this.
We're not going to do it. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about What If.
The Watcher be watching?
Yeah, the Watcher be watching. Watcher's just out there. It doesn't sound like my problem, and I love it. You got to do what you got to do, right? He didn't do it.
He didn't do it. He could have.
Yeah, he could have.
He said he could have.
Yeah.
But he was like, nah.
Yeah, sounds like your problem, Steven. You should
should stay in this bubble right here.
Yeah, you should stay in your lane and not try to switch lanes and crash your car.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you guys are sleeping on What If, we got Marvel Zombies next week. What if Marvel Zombies? No answer to the question. And I'm excited. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. Yeah, just a full out, just zombie apocalyptic. Every hero that you loved is a zombie now. It's going to be great. And I think it's time.
Yeah. So, Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings stormed into theaters this past weekend. And storm it did. Set all sorts of records. 85.5 million domestically, 139 million globally over the long Labor Day weekend, which is not historically a great weekend for films.
Yeah.
So, Marvel's back. They did it.
Yeah. And I want to talk about that cinema experience. Man, I know we're in a pandemic. There's a lot of bad stuff going on, but it felt good to go into a theater with people and sit down and have a shared experience. It felt really good just to see everybody excited about one common thing and everybody leave talking about the future. That's why we're here, man. That's just a dream. And this movie did it for me, man. It's
really good.
Yeah. What's funny is, I saw the movie and I was upper kind of middle pack on it. I was like, this was pretty solid. The first 2 act fight scenes were pretty good. Music was pretty good. Simu Liu, great. Shang-Chi, Wenwu, his father, did a great job, but still kind of like an MCU villain trope, this, that. And then I went to sleep and I woke up and I found myself just thinking about this movie. And then the next day came and I was still thinking about this movie. And I think that's what got me. And then I saw it a second time, actually. And that second time I watched it, I was really paying attention to everything, and it just doubled down on all the greatness of this movie.
Yep. So let's talk a little generalities before we get into spoilers. So this has been a very critically well-received movie. I mentioned Rotten Tomatoes up top. 93% among critics, 98% among audience members, which is astounding. People are really loving this. I love it for this movie.
Yeah.
That people really like it. It's a great Asian representation movie.
Yes.
You can't say enough good things about the cast.
Yeah.
Like, everybody is really, really, really good in this.
And what's funny about that, too, is you talk about the representation. It gave me the same feeling, or a similar feeling, when I left Black Panther. That's what it kind of reminded me of. And it's good to have an Asian superhero just kind of on the front lines, and somebody that by the end of this movie, you can kind of feel that Marvel is kind of touting up to be one of the main Avengers, not kind of like your Ant-Man or something like that, like possibly on the level of where your Scarlet or your Black Widows, your Hawkeyes, your Hulks, like kind of where that was for this new wave of Avengers with the new Captain America, Sam Wilson, with Captain Marvel. You can kind of feel it. So yeah, I'm so glad he did a great job. Yeah. So let's just talk about Simu Liu for a little bit.
Sure.
The greatest stock photo actor of all time. So a little background.
Such an amazing story.
Yeah. So Simu Liu I believe he was from Canada, I want to say. I could be wrong. Don't quote me, but he was just a struggling actor. He moved to LA. He was, $100. Let's take a stock photo that you see in your textbooks, on billboards, ads, whatever.
Photos, picture frames.
Right. And he can fight, man. There's this great video of have you seen the 2010 Karate Kid movie with Jaden Smith?
Yes.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about the movie itself, but you remember the bully from that movie that he fought at the end?
Yes.
There's a great video that they did. So people grow up. He grew up, and there's a video of him fighting Simu Liu, and it's just them just fighting. And I saw that video like a year ago, and I'm like, wow, this is what we need. We need a hero that can actually fight. So it kind of makes it a little bit more believable. And that first act fight when they're on the bus, you can buy that he's actually fighting. I know he might have masked some of it, but I want to say he was doing a solid amount of that fighting in that scene.
I think so.
Yeah.
It seemed it, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, he did a really great job. He's funny. He's naturally funny. That's, I think, is one of my, the best things I can say about him. He's not, like, having jokes written. Obviously, he does, but it's not like the having jokes written for you funny. His movements are funny. It's that funny line in the movie where where Aquafina goes, "What happened to your shirt?" And he just lifts his arms like a no dialogue comedy. It's just great.
It reminded me a lot of Hemsworth in Ragnarok.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Kind of revolutionized his character and kind of redid and rebranded what Thor was.
Where, like, Hemsworth is funny in the first two Thor movies, but, like, it never felt like Hemsworth.
No, it was Marvel writing funny. Yeah.
Where, like, Ragnarok felt like Hemsworth.
Yeah. It was like a mix with Taika Waititi, but Taika Waititi is one of those directors and one of the better ones, which knows you're funny. You're a funny guy. You see you're in press junkets, this, that, and you do funny things. So let's just kind of write the movie around you instead of we writing a movie for you. And I think it worked. And same thing happened for Simu Liu. And man, it worked. Worked the whole time for me.
Aquafina?
Yeah. Her comedy was really solid. She kind of carried his comedy too in the first two acts, I want to say. She kind of helped, and she's a comedian too, so that helps. And
it's a character that really could have went wrong.
Yeah, it could have.
In this movie. Like, she could have been really grating and really annoying.
Yeah.
But, nah, man, she was great. And she has some great kind of, like, quieter moments,
She
too,
does.
which we'll talk about probably a little bit later.
Yeah. Yeah, great moment on the plane without spoilers where he's talking to her about his past, and it's just a quick line where she says, "Sorry about your mom," but she plays it off so well and it's so simple. Instead of her, and they chose the point, I know Marvel sometimes will be like, "This is crazy, this, that," and they do get into it in the scene, but it's just a quick line, "Sorry about your mom," and it helps human. It is. It's much more human for a world that has dragons and soul eaters and this and all these other things. But yeah, let's just get into the plot. So I'll say spoilers. You got anything else before we head into spoilers?
No, man. I think just on the whole, this movie, I struggle to say it surprised me because I think I kind of had pretty high expectations.
Yeah, what I didn't expect is I didn't expect to love. I knew the action sequences were well choreographed, but once I sat down in this movie, and especially after that bus sequence, which we're probably going to dive into pretty heavy because there's a lot to unpack just in like a technical aspect of filmmaking, that I said, wow, this felt like a old school Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, like that's what it felt like, and Jet Li type of movie. And man,
there's a lot of homages in the action sequences.
There's costume homages to certain people, and yeah. So I think that's all I got before we head into spoilers.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I have much more non-spoilery stuff to say.
Last non-spoilery thing I'll say, actually, listen to the album for this. Mm-hmm. There's some great songs. Anderson .Paak's got a really good song that plays at the end of this movie. I think Sway Lee is on this album, so kind of like the Black Panther album. Another one that's pretty cool. Nice listen.
I guess I just, kind of before we dive into spoilers, and if you haven't seen the movie yet, I kind of want to get in the habit of whether or not we'd recommend the movie before we spoil the crap out of it.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen it, I would really recommend
I
going
wouldn't.
to a theater. You wouldn't?
No, I wouldn't. You want to know why?
Oh.
Yeah.
I know why.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. You know what? No, I take back everything I said. This movie's garbage because they didn't use Carl Douglas's kung fu fighting anywhere in this movie.
And they were kung fu fighting.
Yeah.
And
heaps of times.
Yeah, those fists were fast as lightning.
There was heaps of kung fu.
Yeah, there was.
And other martial arts.
There was all types of martial arts riddled this movie.
Oh my goodness. 0 out of 10.
Yeah, actually negative 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm done actually.
Yeah.
I'm not even doing the rest of this episode.
See, all right, guys, great episode. Excited for what No.
All right, I'm back.
Yeah, we're back. We're kidding.
I'm back
guys. We're kidding. Missed opportunity, Marvel, but we're kidding, of course.
All right, so spoilers.
Yes.
Boy, action, fight scenes.
Yeah.
So the first one between his father and his mother, I loved it.
Yes.
It was my aesthetic to like dialed up to 1,000.
Yeah.
I freaking loved it. As it was going on, I'm like, this is one of my favorite movies ever. It was so graceful.
Yeah.
And it was like a dance.
Yeah. There's this art that comes from Asian culture too that I think we take for granted sometimes through mediums. And that opening fight sequence just kind of took me aback for a second and just taught me to enjoy a little bit. And it's so funny because the setup is this big bad wolf is about to go into this kind of this realm and take the whole thing over and conquer. Yeah. And he doesn't. He gets his butt whooped and he meets the love of his life. And that's Shang-Chi's parents. So Shang-Chi's father, man, what a casting. What a great casting. Yeah. And they play so well. It's so believable, the two of them, Shang-Chi's mother and father. It's so believable. You really buy into the fact that he's this conqueror that actually does have a heart. And he honestly, I know he meant to conquer, but it's not in the way where I'm doing this for anger. It's just because that's kind of his nature. Like being 1,000 years old, I mean, that probably helps too. But yeah, that fight sequence. There's this movie on, I believe it's on HBO Max called Hero. Jet Li's in it. And it felt just like watching Hero. A lot of great wire work come from that opening set piece. A lot of great colors as well come from that. And yeah, I just loved watching. This was the most different opening sequence I think Marvel's ever done. And yeah, it felt good just to watch that and just see some grace and beauty on the screen while people were fighting. Mm-hmm. Interestingly enough.
Yeah, it was, like I said, it was like a dance. It was like watching a performance.
Yeah.
It was just so cool. I freaking love that opening fight scene.
Yeah.
So much. And it just set the tone, like, for the movie immediately. Yeah. Smash cut.
Yeah. So we progress a little bit. They fall in love. She teaches him a little bit more of that kind of Talo fighting. So a little backstory about that. So Wenwu, that's his name. He's a conqueror and he's lived for 1,000 years. And it's implied that he found the 10 rings. I'm gonna get into a little bit later, probably at the end of this, what the implications when we talk about the post-credit scene of the 10 rings. But for now, he found these mystical rings that give him a lot of power, a lot of power. I don't even think we've seen the limits. I mean, Shang-Chi at the end has a pretty powerful moment with them, but I don't even think that's the beginning of what he can do with the rings. So he gets those, he starts to conquer. I think they imply that he's also Genghis Khan. I think do they? Because they call him a Khan at one point, so I think it might be implied that he was Genghis Khan in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But yeah, we get to the future, we get to 1996, and he goes to Ta Lo. And immediately when I saw that, I thought of Iron Fist because I thought they were going to try to tie in the 7 cities of heaven and Kunlun, but I think hopefully they save that. Not yet. But please, Marvel, please do it. But yeah, we get to 1996. They fall in love. And he puts the 10 rings away, and he has a daughter and a son, and Shang-Chi is born. And you kind of see that...
A legend is born.
Yeah, a legend is born. Thanks, Marvel marketing team. I've seen that about 20 times over the past 2 weeks. But yeah, they play Dance Dance Revolution. Like, it's so normal for like a conqueror of multiple like countries.
It's really good.
It's good.
Great.
Yeah. It's nice and quiet, and then jump cut. X amount of years in the future, and Shang-Chi's an adult living in San Francisco. Wonder if he runs into Ant-Man on the way to work or anything like that. And I'm gonna assume that he survived the snap just based on the years, because apparently this is 2024. This is right around Spider-Man Far From Home. And I think he was 15 when he left. And I'm pretty sure if you line it up, he's 25, but he would have been 20 by the time the snap in 2018 happened. So I want to say that both him and Aquafina survived. Katie survived. So he's 20. I believe he's 25, I want to say, in 2024, surviving the snap on top of that, too. I think so. 1996, 2025. Or he's 29. 29. Yeah, so maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. Snap's interesting.
Yeah. It almost feels like they're trying to, like, distance themselves from that at this point.
Yeah, they've used it in 4 projects, and heavily in 2 of them, specifically WandaVision and
Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, and Spider-Man Far From Home was the first thing we saw after Avengers Endgame too.
But I think they're at the point now, like, it happened, it's over, it's in the past. This is where we are now.
Yeah, so we get to kind of this ominous kind of feeling, but still just a normal guy living a normal life. This late 20 or mid 20s, late 20s guy just hanging out with his friends, going out to eat, doing some karaoke, having fun, living life. And we're introduced to Katie's character, Aquafina, and she's pretty, like we said earlier, she's solid. I like her a lot. It could have went wrong. A lot of that comedy some people might not have liked, but I think it worked the whole time in the movie. Maybe some points where it's normal to not like every joke that they do, but there's some really funny jokes. And they're driving cars, man. They're valets. This guy that was trained to be an assassin at the age of 7 is valeting in San Francisco. And this movie teaches you a lesson about potential. I think that's a big message that this movie does, especially through Katie's character. We kind of are, some of us might kind of limit ourselves just based on what we think we can do, but we don't realize the potential we have. I think we see that at the end when Shang-Chi's aunt teaches him that new form of Kung Fu, even though his father taught him one thing, the potential of both parents kind of coalescing into one and making this kind of, this legend. I think I'm going to refer to Shang-Chi a lot as a legend. And then Katie, kind of, that's where it kind of supplements itself through, is she's kind of tentative on doing anything, and then you get to the final action sequence and she's letting arrows fly like Oliver Queen, and it's fun, man. She kind of gets a pretty cool arc in this movie, and it's something that's so simple, but it's pretty effective, and it's a nice message for some people that might need it too.
Yeah. And then
he's
ambushed on the bus.
Yeah. Man, this is like, I've kind of wanted to temper myself on comparing things, but this has got to be in my top 5 favorite Marvel fights that I've ever seen. And we'll
talk about it.
Yeah.
Don't step on next week.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Spoilers for next week's episode. But he's on a bus. Him and Aquafina are on their way to work. And a man approaches them and he says, Surprise. We're going to kung fu fight. No, he doesn't say that. He says, give me the necklace. And Shang-Chi says, what? And he's like,
it's on.
It's on. Yeah, give me the necklace. And he punches him and he lifts him off the ground with the punch. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, it's about to go down.
Oh, yeah, we're superheroing.
Yeah, we are superheroing. And it's funny, I know at that moment, if you saw the trailers, obviously he's in the past, like he's always like that. But there's this little moment of ambiguity where you're like, oh shoot, does he really know how to fight, or is it one of those superhero tropes where it's just like, oh shoot, I can fight people, and then you find out very quickly that he's been doing this for some time. And we launch into one of my favorite fight sequences in any Marvel movie, and probably just in movies in general. And I want to talk about their stunt coordinator, who passed away sadly. He did a phenomenal job. Just using that kind of Jackie Chan 80s.
Jackie Chan fight.
Yeah,
this is a Jackie Chan fight.
80s, 90s Jackie Chan fighting style of using the surroundings with you. So he's using the bars in the bus to pull his enemies into it. He's using kind of like that, the middle of the bus, like the extension piece, and he's like walking on it around.
He uses a laptop.
Which, sorry to that poor girl that was writing her research paper. Sorry. It's Shang-Chi though. It was needed.
It's such a Jackie Chan like thing. I loved it.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of, I think it's Rush Hour 2, where Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker are fighting people in a like a massage parlor, and Jackie Chan's like using pillows.
Yeah.
He's flipping off on couches. Mm-hmm. He's using towels as to tie people up.
Yeah.
This movie was made for me, man.
Yeah, there was a really good bit where the guy takes off his jacket and he takes it off himself and he like tangles him, hits him, and he hits him with his elbow and then puts it back on. And I'm like, man, they really thought about every move that they were doing. This wasn't just some let's just wake up today and try to fight. Like everything was kind of meticulous in this first fight, and I think that was intentional to show you the potential that we have in the future for possibly characters like Iron Fist, if they were to ever come to the big screen, to see what we can get that we somewhat didn't get in the Iron Fist show. Yeah. Not to talk poorly about that show in a Shang-Chi episode, but something that we possibly could see that can be done very well. And it's a pendant, so they want the pendant around his neck, and they get it. They get it. Classic movie trope. They get the thing that they didn't want to give up. They get the thing,
and now it's time for an adventure.
Yeah, adventure time.
Adventure time.
Yeah, so we dive deep into Shang-Chi's past. This guy, he's an issue. He's a problem. So his mother passes away, so that's all we know at this point. We don't know how she passed away. We just know that she died, and we go back to the past, and Shang-Chi's being raised like a child soldier by his father and death dealer. And it's intense to see what he had to go through. He's being beaten with sticks when he can't punch a wooden pole, and his knuckles are bleeding. This is a 7-year-old kid whose knuckles are bleeding. I think he throws away the line that I knew every way to kill a man by the time I was 14 years old.
But also, toughen up, little Shang-Chi. Come on, get it together.
You weren't killing people at 7 years old?
No, I was. Heaps.
Oh, yeah. I forgot that you were a secret assassin at that age, but...
Yeah. Come on. I have no sympathy for that child. Get it together.
Yeah. But, yeah, so we go to China, so he gets a postcard from what he thinks is his sister, and Xiaoling, his sister... She's great. She is. So we get to the point in the past, you find out that Shang-Chi's training, but at the Ten Rings facility, women aren't allowed to train. So she taught herself how to fight, and man, she could fight.
She kicks his ass.
Yeah, she does. So we go to what a lot of people thought was Madripoor from the trailers, but it just is, I believe, just a place in China. I can't remember what the name was.
But it was Laos. Yeah, but I could be wrong.
It's not Madripoor. So we get to the second part. So little continuity. The guy from Spider-Man Homecoming that told Spider-Man to do a flip, I guess he moved to San Francisco, and he has a really funny moment where he's recording the fight. So when they get there, he's been tasked to go into a ring and fight, and they call him Busboy because of the bus fight, and he goes right to the center stage. And before that fight, 2 people are fighting. Rob, who's fighting before them?
It is the Abomination and Wong.
I love Marvel, man.
It's just little things that, like, I feel like are just unnecessary, but they're cool.
Yeah.
Because they're like, hey, continuity.
Yeah.
Like, same universe. People are just around doing things. Yeah,
a much more comic accurate look at Abomination now. Mm-hmm. And it is Emil Blonsky, because Wong does say after the fight, he calls him Emil, so it is him. And he's coming back in the She-Hulk show too, so I guess that kind of was a prelude. And they fight. Wong hits him with a really cool move where he uses his portals to kind of, when he punches through the portal and he punches himself. Abomination punches himself in the face.
Doctor Strange probably should have used that one on Thanos, but alright.
Let's not do that. That's going to be a long conversation if we do that. But then, just to kind of get into some larger MCU world building, Wong isn't just cage fighting. It seems like he's doing something. It seems like he's recruiting almost, and you kind of get the feeling, how does he even know the Abomination? Like, that's completely two polar opposite sides of the MCU that are kind of
He takes him back to the raft?
It looks like the raft. It looks like a prison. It definitely is a prison. It's like, it has like bars and like wire bars and like...
So is Wong like the supervillain rehab official?
No, he's Nick Fury now.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, we will get to that. I love the fact that that's happening. But so Shang-Chi gets in there, get that really funny joke where she's just like, what happened to your shirt? And then he's like, I don't know. They told me. And that's where you get the kind of the Bruce Lee homage, just the black pants, no shoes, no shirt, just kicking hands. Yeah, just hands. These hands are rated E for everyone. But
he gets the hands.
Yeah, he does. And that is our first introduction to Xiaoling, his sister, which he has not seen since he left the compound when he was 15 years old. And she's angry. She's upset. And I I really like her arc too in the movie. Her arc kind of, we're gonna have to talk about, like, that's a pretty big spoiler that we'll get to later. But for right now, she's just kind of that angry sister that's begrudged, or that angry sibling where one of them got the shine in the family and the other one was kind of cast away. And it's pretty sad. And you see that in the flashback. She's training herself because women can't train in the facility, which is sad. And man, another great fight sequence where they're not cutting the camera every 5 seconds. They are letting actors and stunt doubles fight. And man, some of the coolest just hits you'll see. There's a really good move where, like, he does like that back handspring and then flips up before he kicks his legs out from under him. And yeah, it's just, and then she punches him in the, does she kick him or does she punch him in the face?
I think she punches him.
Yeah, and just full out knockout because she thinks about how he just abandoned her in a compound with a father that can't look at her because he reminds her of his deceased wife. And then the plot really takes off.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. We didn't forget about you, General Akbar. It's a trap. And that note was not sent, that postcard was not sent by Jia Ling, it was sent by his father, and we launch into a really great chase sequence. I don't even know if I want to, it's kind of a chase sequence. It's to get her pendant, so it's two pieces of a pendant to unlock a map, and again with that Jackie Chan homage, just using the surrounding area. So we
scaffolding.
So we get to the side of the building, there's scaffolding. He's using guys, he's kicking boards from the scaffolding to hit guys. He's kicking a guy onto like a broken piece so he can walk across it and drop them. And yeah, it's really great. He saves Aquafina right before she breaks off. Like I think she's hanging on a pole and it's like falling back. But I love, there's like a one take right there where they don't cut the camera and like she's falling and he's actually running while she's falling instead of like cutting the camera. It was just really cool. A lot of great filmmaking beats in this movie.
Yeah, and then we get to what is maybe my favorite fight in the movie, though it is brief.
Yeah, it's brief, but it's effective.
It is Shang-Chi versus Death Dealer.
Yeah.
And it's great.
Yeah.
For like I couldn't
30 seconds, maybe
like a minute and a half.
Yeah.
But man, they saw Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and they're like, I see your knife flip, and I raise you 2 knife flips.
Yeah, 2 knife flips, a knife catch out of hitting the knife out of the opponent's hands. It was great. Yeah, the stunt choreography and the fight choreography were, I think it's the best that they've done, honestly.
I wish that fight would have went longer.
Yeah, it was.
I have gripes. I have some gripes.
It was surprisingly.
That's my first gripe.
Oh yeah, and it was really personal, that fight too, because it was really the guy or woman that was really ruining his life when he was a kid and molding his mind to be an assassin, which a kid should just be going to school and having fun. And Shang-Chi, you kind of get this dark side to him, which that was something I did not expect from your main hero, because all main heroes are kind of pretty good, and he goes for the killing blow right away, and you kind of get the, whoa, was he really just about to kill, like, not an innocent person? But no, not a lot of heroes will just straight up kill people, and it's interesting, and it adds a little depth to his character as well.
Yeah, so surprise, surprise, Luke, I'm your father.
Yeah,
I'm back.
Yep.
And I'm taking you home, son.
Yeah. Quote unquote, the Mandarin shows up.
Yeah, I like how they address this.
Yeah.
With the whole Mandarin thing.
Yeah.
Where, look, in comics, with this character in particular, with the Mandarin, it's very sketchy, to be polite. You know, the history of the Mandarin, the history of Shang-Chi's father in the comics, who's called Fu Manchu. I mean, come on. You know. You know, there's really no excusing that kind of thing. So I really like how Wenwu takes the name of the Mandarin and he passes off as like a joke.
Yeah.
Like, that's the dumbest name for a person.
Yeah, he says they named the American or the terrorists that crippled America after an orange. And it's really funny. And you kind of see that he is not a person to be trifled with either, because he took the name and then he immediately said, let's just go kill that guy that just thought it would be a joke to take our culture and kind of do that to it. And we get into kind of the second half of the adventure piece, which launches into the third act, and they get flown back to the compound, and we find out that Wenwu is kind of he's hearing things. He's hearing his wife. That's why he needed the pendants to find Ta Lo, where Shang-Chi's mother is from, a mystical city where you kind of get powers from this dragon called the Great Protector, and he wants to go there so he can free his wife, whose voice he thinks he's hearing.
Who he believes is being held against her will
Yeah.
behind the gates of Ta Lo. And Shang-Chi's like, nah, I'm not buying this.
Yeah.
And the father makes a pretty convincing argument.
He does.
By way of mystical water map.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a really beautiful sequence too, kind of just that imagery of the forest as well. And yeah, it just goes, the technical aspects of this movie are pretty solid. Even some of the crazy third act CGI pieces, it's still normal Marvel third act superhero, but there's some cool shots in there that I'm going to talk about, like just the framing of CGI almost that I'll talk about, just your framing of characters. But then we get to one of my favorite cameos in the entire MCU.
Can you call it a cameo?
No, he's in the movie.
He's in this movie quite a bit.
Yeah, he is.
It's Ben Kingsley.
Ben Kingsley is back. He is back, and he is back as Trevor Slattery, the comedian,
amazing,
the jester of the MCU. And they do call him the jester in the movie too.
Yeah.
And it's the Thor 2 Endgame retroactively making me like a movie or understand a movie, and he is amazing. He's hilarious. His jokes work every time. Every time he said something, the whole theater was just cracking up every time. So yeah, Trevor Slattery's back, so we find out if anybody's seen Hail to the King or
Hail to the King.
Hail to the King, the short when Marvel used to do shorts back in the Iron Man 3 era, Captain America Winter Soldier era.
Back when we needed people to buy DVDs.
Yeah, yep. DVD sales through the roof, but it's on Disney Plus now. It's pretty short, so you can check it out. Gives a little bit more depth to the Ten Rings and kind of their hold on the world, kind of their secretive hold, because they're not really like Hydra. The Widows are probably a more depth like comparison where not a lot of people hear about them, but they're always around. And
they're also not, the impression I got that they weren't truly active at this point.
No, they were kind of, because he did take a break as when his wife died, and I want to assume that he probably said, you guys can go home, I'm giving you guys a little leave of absence, a prolonged leave of absence. We're not really, I don't have anything else to conquer.
He only uses them for like his personal vendettas.
Yeah. And he does.
At this point? Yeah.
And he does. Yeah. And it kind of feels like a sect of the Ten Rings kind of broke off, and that's kind of where we see in Iron Man 1. It's a different, like, regime of them kind of broke out. And
they kind of took the name.
Yeah, they took the name, and then they applied it to something that was ridiculous in retrospect. But, yeah, Ben Kingsley comes back. He's hilarious. We see one of the cutest characters in the whole MCU, Morris. What did Aquafina call him? The wing pig, or the chicken pig?
Yeah.
The chicken pig. And they leave the compound and they set out for Ta Lo.
Because like the race is on.
Yeah, the race is on.
Because Shang-Chi realizes that, he almost fell for it. Mm-hmm. But then I think his father makes a comment about like, if they don't turn her over, like, I'm burning the place to the ground.
Yeah.
And Shang-Chi's like, oh, so you're still a bad dude.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So we have to get to Ta Lo before my father does, or bad news.
Yep.
Bad things are going to happen.
Yeah.
But this is the point where we learn what actually happened to his mother, right?
Yeah. Pretty sad.
It's real sad.
Yeah. A lot of emotional punches were thrown in this scene, and you see the Iron Gang. I gotta think that's a reference to the Mandarin being an Iron Man, calling them the Iron Gang, and
maybe.
Yeah, I gotta think that's how they kind of did it. But the Iron Gang comes to the gates of his compound. Wenwu is out. This is after he gave up the rings. He's got his family. Everybody's gone.
Are we not going to talk about how this is the opening to the Mortal Kombat movie?
It is the opening to the Mortal Kombat movie,
where the real dangerous person is out doing a thing. And the evil gang shows up and kills the wife.
Yeah, but but Scorpion's a good person, though. He's not a great person, I'll say that. He's not a bad person either. But yeah, he comes back, and then this is kind of like the other, like that theme that we were talking about earlier, with kind of your potential, and you kind of learn the other sides of the coin. So this movie spent a lot of time talking about his father and how he trained him, and how he's an assassin, he's the prodigal son of the Ten Rings. But then you get to the other side of the coin, the beauty and the grace of Ta Lo, which was good because it was set up nicely in the opening fight sequence of the movie, coming back around to show them. And she has this like her fight style is really graceful. It's really cool to watch too. And yeah, she tries to take on like 50 or 60 men one-on-one, and she takes some of them down. See bodies there too. But then Wenwu comes back, and Shang-Chi is man, he's trying to wake up his mother, his sister's crying, and it's really sad, man. And you feel for Wenwu in that moment because
you do,
yeah,
which is crazy.
Yeah,
he's done like these horrible things.
Yeah, but it's just as simple as his wife passed away. Somebody made the claim that he's the only MCU villain that's just driven strictly off grief, nothing else. Because even Thanos was more of, it was balanced, like I was doing something to save. It's just him. The only thing he cares about is that my wife just died and people will pay for this.
And he blames himself.
He does. He doesn't blame anybody else. I guess once we get to the end, he kind of throws away that line that you let your mother die, but I think that was more the rings and the power, kind of speaking for him. But yeah, at the core, I think he thinks him giving up the rings did that to him.
And that's when he kind of exposes Shang-Chi to the darker side of the Ten Rings.
Yeah.
Where he kind of takes his son under his wing, and he's like, you're going to become the heir apparent now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and he does it in a very, like, it's a fatherly way, but it's also really manipulative.
Yeah, it is.
Like, he takes him to, like, hunt down like the guys that are responsible for killing his wife, and you know.
Yeah, and that gets to the middle part of Shang-Chi's arc where he kind of hits it, where it's the moral dilemma of your character.
And Wenwu frames it like he absolutely obliterates these guys.
Yeah.
And, you know, he leans down to his young son and he's like, do you want to avenge your mother's death? Of course he's going to say yes.
Yeah, he's a 7-year-old kid who just watched his mother die.
Yeah.
Of course. And it's cool because once we get to Ta Lo, Shang-Chi's kind of sitting on the river and he thinks to himself, and that kind of gets to that darker aspect, which I wasn't expecting from the character. He tells Katie, I'm going to kill my father. There's no if, and, or but about it. I will kill this man.
Because I'm going to do what he trained me to do.
Yeah, and it's kind of that, like, conditioning of a kid. Kind of like what we saw with Bloodsport and the Suicide Squad. You're conditioned from when you're a kid to be a killer. And some people run from it, but they can't really reconcile with it as well. Or we're trained to kind of do these things when we're younger, which don't really make sense in the grand scheme, but that's all you knew when you were a child, so it's formative.
Yeah, and we also find out why Shang-Chi left the Ten Rings. We do and we don't.
Yeah. I like how they kind of left that gray area.
Yeah, it's a little swervy.
Yeah.
And his father sends him to... They finally found the man responsible for killing Shang-Chi's mother.
Yeah, in America.
And Shang-Chi claims that he couldn't go through with the assassination and he couldn't face his father. And that's why he didn't return to the Nine Rings. But we find out later that he did go through with it. He has killed, and that's what kind of motivates him to kill again.
Yeah.
And try to kill his father, because he's like, you made me into this and now you're gonna pay for it.
Yeah.
Basically.
And it's kind of teaching you in the moment too that he is a good person because he did that thing and he regretted it so much where he completely started his life over in America, and he said, I need to block this part of myself off and be a regular kid that goes to school and an adult that grows up and has a normal job, because I do not need to be the heir apparent of the Ten Rings. I just need to be Sean, a good person that does good things and has friends. That's it.
And then we get to Ta Lo.
Yeah.
They make it. They beat Wenwu there. And we are introduced to Shang-Chi's aunt. And this is another thing that could have looked a little hokey and weird in this movie because it's so fantastical.
Yeah.
Like, there are fantastical creatures. The color palette brightens up instantaneously.
Does. And purposely. You can kind of feel it, yeah.
Totally on purpose. And this is where we kind of get Shang-Chi becoming who he is.
Yeah.
Like, he gets a real strong talking to from his aunt.
Yeah.
Where she's like, you're thinking about this wrong.
Yeah. Like,
you don't have to be one or the other.
Yeah.
You can be both and be this new being, this new person.
It was possibly one of the more memorable arcs from a hero too, in terms of their path, their moral path, instead of just the fight path that they're usually on. Right. It's fun to think about because it's something, it's pretty unique, honestly, like taking the best of both things, because she even tells him, your father didn't teach you all bad things. He just wanted you to do bad things with what he taught you. Because
what you generally see in these origin movies is typically just a regular person and then they become something greater.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, Tony Stark becomes Iron Man. Like, he's not already Iron Man. Mm-hmm. Steve Rogers becomes Captain America.
Yeah.
I guess the only comp is really Thor, but even Thor loses what makes him Thor.
Yeah.
Shang-Chi starts the movie with his skill set.
Yeah.
Like, knowing what he knows, he is who he is. But what his origin story is about is finding who he is as a person.
And it's
who he is
balance,
inside.
too. Yeah, it's a lot of balance that he needs to find in himself. And it works, man. And because once you get to that third act and he kind of reconciles and his aunt starts training him in the ways of Ta Lo, you can kind of feel, too, the allegory for, like, the dragon, that he's the great protector now, but he's the great protector of the Marvel unit. He's not just the great protector of Ta Lo, but he's the holder of the 10 rings, and he's the protector of Ta Lo. Like, he has the heart of the dragon and the 10 rings, which makes him possibly one of the more powerful characters in the entire MCU, so...
Yeah. So, we get a lot of really great character stuff going on in Ta Lo before Wenwu arrives. And we start getting this little thing with Katie.
Yeah.
Where she really wants to help when she's in. Which is like a great like friend thing.
Yeah.
Because like of course, like she's gonna be in and she's gonna do whatever she can.
Yeah.
And I liked it.
Me too.
That's all I can really say.
Too. There's this great line where I thought about for a little bit, and it's just one of those lines where I can kind of feel Marvel start to let people make stuff instead of, because I want to say from 2012 to 2015, 16-ish, with the exception of Guardians of the Galaxy, it kind of felt it was a pretty straight trajectory that they were on with moods and storytellings, and it felt uniform almost, and that's one of the only gripes. They were still making hits and movies that I love, but it kind of feels, especially with WandaVision, with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that and Loki especially, they're really letting filmmakers and writers do their thing. They're kind of they're stepping back a little bit. And then there's just this quick line that one of the trainers says to her, and she just says, "If you aim at nothing, you're never going to hit anything." And it's just one of those lines that I just thought about a couple days later, and I'm like, wow, it's just a line that somebody just might need in normal life.
And I really liked the moment where Shang-Chi totally confesses to her, and he's like, "No, I did kill this person." And she's just kind of like, and?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't change who you are.
Yeah.
Because, like, you killed a person.
Yeah.
You know?
You're not still a bad person.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She even says, you were trained to be an assassin at 7 years old. That's going to have an effect on you.
It's going to mess anybody up, man.
Yeah, well.
Like, you don't have to bear the burden of everything.
Yeah.
Because you were raised this way, but... You know, it's kind of a trope in a lot of films and a lot of stories in general. It's not what you were brought up to be. It's who you are now. That's what matters.
Yeah.
And that's where we get to when Wenwu arrives and chaos ensues.
Yeah. Classic Marvel third act, big...
I do want to talk about this.
Yeah, I think I have I have a more forgiving opinion on this, and which we're going to get into.
Yeah, so... They square off the first time, and Wenwu punches Shang-Chi into the lake, and he's like out of the picture. He's gone. And Wenwu was on a one-man mission to open that gate.
Yeah.
And we learned that there is a real bad entity.
Oh, not a person. Definitely not a person.
Behind that gate.
Yeah, like
and if it gets out, problems.
Yeah, like a demonic dragon the size of the Empire State Building is behind there, and it is problems. You kind of see some of the Soul Eaters, like the smaller kind of like conduits, kind of start to leak out.
The flying monkeys.
Yeah, the flying monkeys start to leak out, and there's this funny line where it's kind of first it's the 10 rings versus the people of Ta Lo, and then they fight, and it's normal, and the Soul Eaters start coming out, and Razor Fist is like, we're not going to work together, we're the powerful 10 rings, and then Death Dealer dies, and I was a little upset about that because we knew nothing about Death Dealer, and it was so personal because Shang-Chi was ready to kill him or her, and we never knew anything about them, which is a little underwhelming for me.
R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. Death Dealer. May you rest.
Got dealt with?
Yeah, Death Dealer got dealt with. And then, of course, classic, we should work together because we might die right now.
While this is happening, Shang-Chi is just chilling in a lake, minding his business.
Yeah, maybe he should get out of there and start fighting.
And you know who also tells him that? The dragon that's in the lake.
Yeah, the giant dragon that's just chilling in the lake.
It's a Leviathan.
Yeah.
It's not really a dragon, but... All right.
Yeah. The Great Protector is what they call him, and that's what the people of Ta Lo draw their power from. That's kind of how they have that almost earth-bending, I want to call it. That's how they kind of are able to do that. And it's just like it's an allegory for Shang-Chi. That's how I kind of took it as he's now the Great Protector. Like even his mother says, you have the heart of the dragon in you.
He's like, hey man, get out of my lake.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, and then Shang-Chi's like, but can you help me fight first? And then the dragon's
like, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, he got out of there. Maybe he wasn't going to help him.
No, it's she. Yeah.
Maybe she wasn't going to help him. Maybe she just wanted to get him out of the lake.
Yeah.
And then she got out there and she was like, what is happening?
Yeah, I told you guys specifically not to hit that, and you guys just hit it.
Heaps of times.
Heaps of times. Thanks a lot, Wenwu.
Do you see what's going on coming out of there?
Yeah.
Guys,
it took everything I had to fight this again. You want me to do that a second time?
All right, I guess.
Yeah.
So the dragon drops Shang-Chi off at the gate, Dragon Uber.
Mm-hmm. Dragon Uber.
Drops him off.
Yep.
And we get what I thought was going to be some real cool, epic mano-a-mano father v son stuff.
Yeah.
And we get a little bit of it.
We do get a little bit.
It's a little bit magic-y.
It's a Marvel movie.
Yeah. But then there's this moment, so I want to harp on this moment, because I think we both harped on it, because we both remarked on it when we finished the movie. There's this moment where they're fighting, and Shang-Chi kind of wrestles the 10 rings away from his father, and he drops them, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I thought we were about to get a one-shot take, like no camera cuts, just your kind of magnum opus of this film's potential in their fight choreography. Just two skilled fighters from these different projects coming to get like one more classic from a lot of Korean films and one that's up and coming, just straight hands, just straight hand to hand.
And we don't get it.
I will agree. I'm not upset with what they did. I saw it probably made more, I don't want to say made more sense, but it fit, because like I said, it is a Marvel movie with a lot of CGI, but it would have been cool to just throw everything away and we just get a one-shot take, just straight hand-to-hand action fight scene. That would have been amazing.
Yeah, I thought that's what we were going to get, because it's like, drop the weapons and let's just square up. And I thought that's what they were going. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Like you missed a trick, Marvel.
Yeah, that would have been, because it would have been so much more real that they're just, this father and son are just fighting, almost like at the end of Ghost of Tsushima. If you remember when Lord Shimura fought Jin, and it's just not anything. It's just two family members fighting for the soul of their clan and the survival of it, and two ideologies kind of fighting each other. But
instead what we get is the gate is opened and the big monster comes out.
Yeah.
And the father sacrifices himself.
He does. He loves his son.
Yeah.
Can I make I want to make the Shang-Chi episode hot take. You guys all ready? Wenwu's the best dad in the MCU.
Look, we argued about it before we started filming.
Yeah, we did.
And
I went through every father in the MCU.
Yeah, he did.
And I had an argument against all of them. Just you can name me one right now. I can give the argument of why Wenwu's better.
Howard Stark.
He hated Tony. Audibly hated Tony. I don't care about all this stuff where she left him the element. That's just to make Howard Stark look better. Wenwu cared about his kids. He was playing Dance Dance Revolution. He is Genghis Khan and he's playing Dance Dance Revolution with his kids.
Look, I can't argue against it.
Give me one more.
I don't have one.
Exactly.
Thanos.
That's the only comparable one. Isn't it funny that the villains make the best dads? Say what you will about Nebula. Thanos just saw the potential in Nebula. That's why he did what he did. End of discussion.
Yeah, I mean, Odin.
Horrible dad.
Out. Banner's dad. Out.
Oh, absolutely horrible dad.
Thaddeus Ross. Out.
Almost sacrificed Betty Ross to get to the Hulk.
Hawkeye.
Let his family die.
It's a little unfair.
No, it's not. He should have done more. Should have shot his arrow straighter against Ultron.
Black Widow's fake dad?
David Harbour?
Yeah.
He only cared about whiskey and stories.
Dang it. Fine. All right. You got me.
I rest my case.
But, yeah. So,
I feel like Daredevil after the courtroom scenes. That was amazing.
Big CGI monster fight. Dragon on demon violence.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty... I don't even want to... Because this is a Marvel third act... per usual, but it was kind of cool.
It was cool.
Yeah.
Like the effects are amazing.
Yeah,
like
some of the oh, go ahead.
It looked like a real dragon.
Yeah, and what was cool too, it was framed pretty well. So once Wenwu, so we'll talk about this because this is big. So once Wenwu sacrifices himself, he passes the rings on to Shang-Chi, and now Shang-Chi is the holder of the 10 rings. You
got the juice now.
Yeah, I was going to say, if the forearm room on his suit was a little weird looking, it's not now, because those were some placeholders to get the rings. It's almost like his mom knew, hey, maybe we should have a little room for those rings. And there's this cool shot. There's this one really cool shot that I can't stop thinking about, and like we talked about with when he should have fought his father, no rings, no nothing. it's this Dutch angle shot, and Shang-Chi's holding the rings to his side, and it looks like he's about to take on this. Yeah. It looks like he's about to take on this. I'm talking absolute, like the size of Australia, like death soul eater monster by himself. And I was like, oh my god, this is going to be amazing. And then the Great Protector just ruins all my fun and comes and saves the day.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. I just felt like this movie was building up to something a little different than just another CGI monster fight. That's all. I really love the movie. Like, it's amazing. But I think, again, that goes back to, like, me kind of having certain expectations. And I thought that's where it was going. Mm-hmm. But also, at the same time, I don't totally know how to resolve the conflict.
Yeah.
If that's not there. If that makes sense.
And I'm a little, like I said, I'm a little bit more forgiving. And I just think some of the framing of the... like, it's just weird stuff that I was thinking about. The music, his theme is really cool. I love the Shang-Chi theme that goes along with his character, especially at the end. That moment where he, like, pulls his arms back and he takes the rings out of the Soul Eater and it dies. Like, it's just cool framed because, like, the Soul Eater's holding the Great Protector and Shang-Chi's, like, floating in air. Like, it, like, looks cool. Like, it's a pretty cool visual.
Yeah. So that's it. He did it.
He did it.
You did it, Shang-Chi.
Attaboy.
Yeah, attaboy. Congratulations.
Yeah. You're now the Great Protector.
You're now a superhero.
Yeah. You earned your stripes.
And so he gets back at this really comical moment where him and Katie are like explaining the movie.
Yeah, to their friends at the bar.
They're like, listen, this movie is awesome. Let me tell you about it.
Yeah. You guys want to hear about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the... Shang-Chi, I should say, and the Legend of the Ten Rings? Let me tell you.
And then friggin' Wong shows up.
Yeah, so Wong shows up, and that's where I want to get into...
Like he's picking up a guy at an airport.
Yeah, yes. Like, Shang-Chi? Shang-Chi.
Hello?
And Wong just takes a big shot of whatever they were drinking. Not safe, by the way. Don't do that. You don't know what people are drinking.
Come on, Wong.
Especially in a COVID world.
Doctor Strange would do that.
Yeah, that's not you, Wong. Wong, you're the responsible one.
Yeah.
Is he, though?
Yeah,
I don't know anymore. And this is where I lost it because... Before, I just want to talk about real quick. So Shang-Chi, or Wong's like, come with me, Shang-Chi, you too, Katie, because I saw you fight. And he says, do you have the rings? And he's like, I got them. And then they leave. And then we launch into the post-credit scene. And,
first post-credit scene.
Yeah. And Bruce Banner's back. And Captain Marvel's back.
Got her hair back.
She's got her hair back. Bruce has got his human form back.
Still in a sling, though.
Still in a sling. Yeah, those stones are unforgiving. But
he used the stones to destroy the stones.
All right, guys, great episode. Yeah. What's going on? Wong's Nick Fury now. That's kind of how it's feeling.
He like Tony Starked him at the end. He's like, congratulations, kid, you're an Avenger now.
Yeah, exactly. And it feels, going back to the Abomination, it feels like he's recruiting something. That's kind of what I get the feel. It's almost like, because he didn't have anything really to do with the Avengers before. He was just...
No.
Not even the only time Doctor Strange had anything to do with the Avengers was just... Wong left in Infinity War. He said the Sanctum needs somebody to be there. Who else is going to answer the door? Can't leave.
Spider-Man No Way Home, he's leaving the Sanctum.
He's leaving the Sanctum. Like, Wong is the most separate person ever. But it feels like...
And now he's having... board meetings with Captain Marvel and Bruce Banner.
Like, it feels like they're like talking to... It's not like Wong's giving them information. It feels like almost they're kind of like not... It's almost like they're like answering to Wong in a way. Like,
yeah, they're like, what is this?
Yeah, and it's interesting because now Wong feels like he's a much bigger character on the whole MCU. He's like, he has Abomination. He's got Bruce Banner, Captain Marvel. Gotta assume he's got to have some contact with...
Why is he holding these meetings and not Doctor Strange?
Yeah, exactly. Mephisto confirmed?
Oh.
Sorry, guys. Couldn't help myself.
Oh, God. He had to go there again.
I did.
but no, yeah. And
let's get into the actual post-credit scene, what it actually means. And I got a huge theory on that one.
All right. Well, what happens is they're like, what are these?
Yeah.
What are those? Yeah. Captain Marvel said...
She doesn't say that, but that would have been funny if she did.
They used that joke already.
Yeah, they did. Sorry. Yeah, they're examining the rings, and Wong, kind of in the way that he was showing the stones.
You know what, though? I just thought about this. This is a good way to, like, establish, like, not what the rings are, but, like, what they're not.
Yeah.
Because you got, like, the science guy there.
Yeah.
And you got the alien girl there. And the science guy's like, they're not vibranium, and they're not, like, any science thing I've ever seen.
And you have the magic person there.
Yeah, yeah. And Captain Marvel's like, they're not any alien thing I've ever seen.
And
I've
Wong's
seen
like,
heaps of alien stuff.
Yeah, Wong's like, they're not mystical. They're nothing like in all these ancient libraries. I've never seen them.
He's flipping through the books.
Yeah, he's going in there. It's like
10 rings, 10 rings, 10 rings, 10 rings. 5 rings. Damn it.
He said, I don't need 5. I don't need 7. We don't need 11. We need 10. And
there's nothing here.
Yeah. And he goes deep. He's like kind of examining. He's like zoom and enhance trope. He's zooming and enhancing the rings, and he gets to like really deep in the rings, and a beacon's going off. And immediately my brain clicked because I think I know what's going on.
What's going on?
Fing Fang Foom. For those of you that just said, who and what is a Fing Fang Foom? Classic Iron Man dragon humanoid, not humanoid. It's like a dragon that we perceive it, but
With pants.
No pants. It'd been funny if he had like boardroom pants, just like slacks on and just dragon form. But yeah, so Wong says it's almost like there's a beacon going off and something's being called. So that's my first early theory because
Captain Marvel's like, I'm familiar with this concept.
Yeah. I'm sort of a beacon myself. Said Norman Osborn. But yeah, a beacon's going off, and I think they might try to do Fing Fang Foom because we didn't get Fing Fang Foom in Iron Man because the trajectory of those Iron Man movies were a little more grounded than
weren't building into a big dragon.
Yeah, we're not building up to a big dragon. But
Imagine,
we had I would have loved for Tony Stark to be like, big dragon, cool. Don't know
Jarvis.
why. Yeah. Jarvis, you seen this? But yeah, I think we're gonna get our first appearance of Fing Fang Foom, and I think Fing Fang Foom is gonna be the villain of the next Shang-Chi movie. That would be pretty cool. If you thought one good dragon was bad, it was good. One bad dragon's gonna be bad.
Yeah, I thought it was just cool. Just like, I don't know.
It could be much bigger than that, too, because the way that they were setting it up, and especially because this is the first origin movie of Phase 4 of these, like, new heroes that we're supposed to be getting, that's a pretty big swing, because it's like, the way that they kind of hyped it up was like, something is coming that we don't know if it's good, bad, but something's coming. And
it's Thanos again.
Too Thanos, too furious.
He grabs another 10 rings. Fine.
Yeah.
I'll do it myself.
He's got the 10 rings and the gauntlet. Oh, man.
And then, so that's that first post-credits.
Don't leave that without talking about the best moment from that post-credit scene.
Go ahead.
So, they're all avenging it up, and Wong says, you guys need to get some rest because the trajectory of your lives are about to take off, and it's just a nice homage to the beginning of the movie. Yeah, he does you're an Avenger, kid.
Welcome to the MCU.
Yeah, welcome to the MCU. Great job.
Here's your name tag.
Yeah, here's your name tag. I'm Shang-Chi. And he says, well, we better go home and get some rest. And the greatest moment of this movie, we see Benedict Wong, and he is singing karaoke with Aquafina and Simu Liu, and it's hilarious. It's great.
It's really good.
They're singing in Hotel California because there's this joke earlier in the movie where Aquafina, she defends Shang-Chi when he first moved here against the racist bully, and she just starts screaming Hotel California at him, so they go to the bar and it's just funny to see Wong possibly being the leader of the Avengers, but also being like a fun party guy. It's a nice dichotomy for Wong. I'm excited for his character. Yeah. Didn't forget.
So we do that, and then spoilers. There's another post-credit scene. I hope you didn't leave after the first one, because what are you new to Marvel?
You're a rookie.
And Xiaoling is in charge of the 10 rings.
She is. The 10 rings will return. I think that's all. That's it. That's all I got about that.
She's got women in the group now.
Good.
Ladies.
As it should be.
Yeah. Yeah, 10 Rings Equal Opportunity Organization.
Yeah, what the heck, Wenwu? What were you thinking earlier?
See? He's not that good a guy.
He's a good boy dad. That's all I got. All right, Thanos, you took back the #1 spot. You happy?
But yeah, she's gonna be I don't know.
But it doesn't feel like she's just a straight up villain. But she has a lot. She's got a lot of gripes with a lot of, maybe not a lot of people, but maybe Shang-Chi a little bit. I don't feel like she fully resolved her anger with him. They were just in a giant fight, so she couldn't tell him, I still hate you. But
gave the compound a nice little like graffiti makeover.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. I'm excited to see her again, specifically, because I don't think we said enough about her.
Yeah, maybe because she has a suit too. Maybe a little Thunderbolts action. Maybe Thaddeus Ross might say, I'm putting together a super secret boy band. But not like the NSYNC version, like the One Direction version. Like a nice updated version.
Yeah, she's amazing in this. She doesn't really get a whole lot of like speaking lines, but when she does speak, it resonates.
Mm-hmm. It's like a lot of like, it's a lot put on to her dialogue because it helps the plot kind of go a little bit, and it's a lot of heavy-handed emotion too that comes with it because it's usually she's talking about how she's reminded of her mother by Wenwu, or how her brother abandoned her to leave her in a compound that didn't appreciate women and didn't appreciate the daughter apparent of one of the most dangerous organizations in the world. So,
yeah, and that's the movie. That's the movie.
Mm-hmm. Good movie.
Really good movie.
Yeah.
It makes me more excited for Eternals.
Yeah.
Because it feels like we're entering this, you kind of alluded to it earlier, where it feels like they're really letting the individuality of the writing and the directing shine in these things.
Yeah, that comes a lot from the Disney shows. And I said it before, it's like three prongs. It's, for me, it's the conceptions of WandaVision, it was the cinematography of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and it was kind of the larger world implications and kind of like, I don't want to say like the moral implications, but kind of like the otherworldly implications of Loki. Like all those three things don't just come from, well, Captain America's gonna punch a guy until he stops doing the bad thing. Like it's more complex than that.
Yeah.
And man, thanks for talking about Eternals. You guys got me excited again, because if you want to talk about a filmmaker, Marvel grabbed the best director of 2020 to do your movie. So
that's what I mean. This movie makes me more excited for Eternals, because I'm going to be like, oh, so this is going to be different from the last thing.
Yeah. If you want to talk about I'm talking polar opposites. Yeah, that Eternals is probably going to be the craziest concept that they've tried to go off.
An epic.
Yeah, it is. It definitely, a lot of biblical references in Eternals, and man, I know Chloe Zhao helped write it too, and it just feels like her, if you've ever seen Nomadland, which she won her Best Director nod for, it's just her shooting people living life. It's as simple as that, and I think Marvel needs a little bit more of that, and we kind of saw that a little bit more in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, with Sam just kind of being a guy that sadly was down on his luck, his sister especially, that just two people couldn't get the opportunities that they needed to live, instead of like...
Thanks, Tony Stark.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. You didn't give bonuses, man. You saved the universe like 84 times. You couldn't give him some bonuses? Bad dad.
Bad dad, bad boss.
Bad boss. Bad boss, bad dad.
Yeah. So Eternals is the next MCU thing on the slate, and it's coming quick.
Yeah, it is.
2 months.
2 months, yeah.
Quick turnaround.
There's another Marvel thing that's not the Marvel Cinematic Universe in Disney. It's Venom.
Venom. We didn't talk about Venom.
Oh, I gotcha.
I forgot.
We're back.
Yeah. Venom's getting moved up.
Yeah, Venom saw Shang-Chi and they said, whoa, you mean we can release in October 1st? We're going to do it.
A irrational confidence.
Yeah.
The Venom crew.
J.R. Smith, baby.
They're like, yeah, Marvel. We're Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're Marvel adjacent. Let's relax a bit.
We're an $85 million franchise.
Whoa. Whoa.
And we're going to prove it.
We got Bane from the Dark Knight trilogy.
You thought we panicked and moved our movie back?
Yeah. We were just joking.
Yeah, we're moving up.
Yeah. We wanted to see how you guys would react.
Yeah, we're making some room for Eternals.
Yeah.
If Eternals wants to come up and step up to the plate.
Yeah.
We got this. We are Venom.
You did it. I didn't think you were going to do it, and you did.
I can't wait. That's amazing.
Yeah,
amazing confidence.
Once I saw the first trailer and I saw Carnage bite Eddie Brock's hand and say, I tasted human blood and that's not it, I said, I don't care what this movie has in it. I'm just going to turn my brain off and have a good time. I do not care what this movie's about.
Yeah, so that's coming in less than 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. It is less than 4 weeks.
If you don't think we're going to be doing a Venom 2 review...
Yeah, you're crazy.
Oh, man. That might be our most fun review.
Yeah, because
these other ones have been kind of, serious, and we're going to talk about, movies, quote unquote, like cinema.
Yeah.
But this Venom 2 thing.
Oh, yeah. Might make this the first, like, joke episode. Just full out.
Easy.
Oh, yeah.
Steady on. Talking about Venom like he's a joke.
We have very differing opinions on Venom. And
yeah, we do. We're going to get into it when we talk about Venom 2. We might
have to do a combo review and do Venom 1 and Venom 2 just so I can talk about Venom 1.
But yeah, so that's Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings. It's a really great movie.
Yes.
We said it like 100 times, but it's well deserving of every positive reaction and accolade that it's gotten to this point. Stellar cast, stellar music, action off the charts, and that kind of segues me into what we're going to talk about next week, I think.
The Fast and Furious franchise.
No.
Oh, my bad. Sorry,
We're going to do a little bit of a fun one. We're going to talk best fights in the MCU. And Shang-Chi will be revisited.
Yeah.
in that episode, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I got some other ones up my sleeve that, there's obvious ones, but there's other ones that I think are kind of fun that I'm kind of excited to talk about.
Yep. And yeah, that's all I got too. Thank you guys again. We reached 100 downloads on the first episode, which it's wild. We keep saying this every week that might not seem like the biggest number, but it's just crazy to think that 100 people decided, hey, let's listen to this whole podcast and download it and save it.
And it's cool to me because that number went up recently.
Yeah, so somebody hit the share button at the right time, so thank you guys.
Yeah, so that's new people listening.
Yeah.
Hopefully that first episode, you liked it and you kept listening to the other ones.
Yeah. And
I hope you listen to this one. So you can follow us on Twitter at Project INF _pod. That's on Twitter. You can email us at projectinfinitepod@gmail.com. Like us on Facebook. Like us on Instagram at
The Project Infinite Pod.
My man. Nailed it.
My man.
Oh.
Yeah. Got anything? I got some stuff before we hop
you got
out
some
of here.
stuff?
Yeah,
I got some stuff.
Go ahead.
I mean, you're the Trevor Slatter of the podcast, man.
I thought I was going to be the Ocean Master of the podcast. We talked about this. But yeah, just two things. So you had a recommendation from last week. You saw Free Guy, thought it was great. So I had a little bit of a retro movie. So hopefully we do this every week. One of us will give one movie. I actually watched The Sound of Metal last night. So smaller movie, Riz Ahmed, phenomenal actor, and basically it's this guy, he's a drummer in a metal band, nice dichotomy in the movie, and he loses his hearing. Simple as that, but such a simple narrative produced one of the most visceral and emotional reactions from me and a lot of people, and one of the greatest examples of sound mixing in any movie I've ever seen. You really dive into him and you kind of you're living this deaf life. It's not like a lesser filmmaker or a lesser writer would be like, well, he's deaf, but we're going to have normal sounds. You kind of are living in his mind at the time. And it's frustrating. It's somber. He goes through all the stages of grief. It's a really smaller movie, but just the emotional punch. He got his best actor nom as well. And yeah, just a movie. It's on Amazon Prime. So that's my movie recommendation. And one more thing, I want to shout out a friend of mine, a director friend of mine, Tyron, Just Ty Art on Instagram. He just dropped his first movie, Red, so I definitely wanted to shout him out. A lot of inspiration to myself and a lot of other people around our area in the Valley, because he did what a lot of people can't say. He made a movie. A lot of people talk the talk, but they can't walk the walk. So go to his Instagram page, check out his movie. It's on YouTube. You can watch it right now. Kind of a horror suspense mystery with a lot of real world implications behind it. It's really cool. I worked on some stuff with this movie too, and it's a series now, and then it's gonna grow more. But yeah, I wanted to shout him out because I think he deserves more love. So yeah, that's all I got.
Cool. The Ocean Master of the podcast.
Yes.
I faked you out.
Yes.
Just like Trevor Slattery faked out America when he said he was the Mandarin.
You had me for a minute and then you got me again.
Yeah. All right, guys. We will see you next week. Best MCU fights. I'm really looking forward to talking about that because there's some really cool stuff. It's going to give me an excuse to watch some Marvel movies.
You're going to watch Iron Fist?
Yeah.
I knew it.
Listen, there's a good fight scene in that when he fights the drunken kung fu guy.
There is. There's the fight in season 1 with him and Davos was actually not bad. That was like the first time where I was like, this is Iron Fist. Just do more of that.
Yeah. But, yeah, we'll see you next week. See ya.